What's up everyone, Alex here. When I was a kid, I used to dream about making my own side-scrolling beat-em-ups, the kind we all grew up with on the NES. As I got older, I realized that even the flashiest combat systems can start to feel repetitive if you're running through the same backgrounds and enemy patterns over and over. Deep mechanics are great, but without variety in the moment-to-moment gameplay, the excitement starts to fade. So imagine my surprise when I started playing Towerborne, a game that takes a much simpler, more streamlined approach to designing its many discoverable areas, and found that it just had enough variety to keep me coming back for more. It's one of those games that makes you say, okay, just one more run, because the levels are so bite-sized and fun, whether you're playing solo, with friends, or even with total strangers. Now, before I keep gushing about this game, I do want to let you know that this review is sponsored by the team behind Towerborne. But just to be absolutely clear, I only take sponsorships if I'm allowed to say whatever I want, whether it's good or bad. And in this case, there's definitely a lot to talk about. If anything you see here looks like you're kind of fun, check out the link in the description to play Towerborne for yourself. It's available now, and honestly, you might be surprised by how quickly it grabs you. Towerborne is set in a world where humanity lives on a massive towering structure called the Belfry. You play the role of an ace, a resurrected warrior sent down to the surface to fight off monsters, reclaim corrupted lands, and unravel the mystery of what's really going on in the world below. The vibe is this cool mix of fantasy and post-apocalypse, with just a touch of storybook whimsy. It's stylish, but not overbearing. Now the moment-to-moment gameplay? That's where Towerborne really shines. You've got 4 distinct weapon types to choose from: sword and shield, war club, gauntlets, and dual daggers. Each one plays differently enough that switching between them genuinely changes how you approach combat. Sword and shield offers a balanced mix of offense and defense, great for methodical, reactive play. Gauntlets lets you brawl up close with fast, heavy-hitting combos. Dual daggers are all about speed, evasion, and precision. And then there's the War Club, my personal favorite. It's the weapon of the Pyroclast class, and it hits hard, with slow sweeping swings and fiery area of effect attacks that just feel ridiculously satisfying to land. No matter what you pick, each weapon has its own rhythm and identity, and that makes experimenting feel incredibly rewarding. What I also love is that you're not locked into any one class. You can swap weapons between missions, experiment with new styles, and just play around until you find something that clicks. It's flexible and forgiving, which keeps things fresh. Combat feels responsive and weighty in all the right ways. Dodging, combo chaining, and juggling enemies mid-air come together in a system that rewards timing and awareness without punishing you for just jumping in and having fun. It's approachable on the surface, but if you want to go deep, there's plenty to master. Movement, animation cancels, cooldown management, spacing, and positioning all matter. And if you come from a fighting game background, you'll feel right at home. A lot of that muscle memory, like understanding pokes, reads, and punish windows, carries over surprisingly well here, especially in co-op when you're syncing with teammates. The one challenge is that you'll need a sharp eye to actually read enemy animations in the heat of battle. Thankfully, the game includes clear visual indicators for big attacks, which goes a long way in helping you react in time. Speaking of which, this is one of those games that's totally playable solo, but clearly designed with friends in mind. The moment you drop into a mission with a full squad, it clicks. You're calling out targets, reviving teammates, comboing enemies from opposite sides of the screen. It's the kind of chaotic fun that makes you shout at your screen in the best possible way. When the screen's full of enemies and you and your friends are flying across the battlefield, dodging fireballs, setting up team attacks, and barely surviving a boss's final phase, it's just a blast. Outside of the combat, there's a fairly light, but still satisfying, layer of RPG-style progression. You level up, earn gear, unlock new skills, and gradually refine your build as you go. The game doesn't lean too hard into grinding, but the loot system gives you just enough incentive to replay missions. Upgrading your gear is also pretty straightforward, and the main quests do a solid job of walking you through the basics without overwhelming you. And because the customization system is relatively streamlined, you're not stuck waiting forever in lobbies while your friends, or randoms, spend ages tweaking their loadouts. It keeps things moving without sacrificing that sense of progression. Gear not only affects your stats, but also your look. And while the customization isn't super deep, there's enough here to make your ace feel personal. The core gameplay loop revolves around short, focused missions that you pick up from the Belfry. From there, you can jump into story missions, side quests, seasonal events, or just explore the world map at your own pace, discovering new zones and steadily expanding your reach. The world map itself is laid out on a hexagonal grid, with each hex representing a different biome. These biomes determine the kinds of backdrops, enemies, treasures, and challenges you'll run into. And as I mentioned earlier, just because two zones might share the same scenery doesn't mean they'll play the same way. That subtle variation keeps things feeling fresh. It makes you wonder what kind of twist or challenge you'll run into next, even in a place that looks familiar. And that's part of the fun. Every time you push into a new zone, the devs introduce new enemies, hazards, or mechanics that keep the experience from going stale. Now, if there's one area where the game stumbles a bit, it's the layout of the Belfry. It looks great, but functionally, it's kind of a hassle. Vendors and quest givers are sometimes spread far apart, which means you end up doing a lot of unnecessary running around just to get things done. Add in the presence of other players on screen, and the whole area starts to feel more visually cluttered than it needs to be. It's not game-breaking by any means, but it does slow down the pacing in a way that feels at odds with how tight and responsive the rest of the game is. A bit of streamlining here, both in layout and flow, would go a long way towards smoothing out the overall experience. I also ran into a bit of a problem with crossplay invites. I was on Steam, my friends were on Xbox Game Pass, and I expected everything to just work. Unfortunately, invites weren't working across platforms. It's a known issue that the devs are working on, so hopefully it'll be resolved soon. But for now, cross-platform parties might be a little hit or miss. Another thing to note, Towerborne clearly has a live service backbone. There are seasonal events, rotating content, and ongoing updates planned. But to its credit, it doesn't feel exploitative, at least not yet. Progression feels fair, monetization is minimal, and the seasonal model seems more like a way to keep the world evolving rather than to nickel and dime you. Presentation-wise, Towerborne is absolutely gorgeous. The art style is expressive, sometimes even striking, with vibrant colors and environments that feel alive without ever getting in the way of the action. Everything remains clear and readable, even when the screen is packed with chaos. The character animations are fluid, and there's this handcrafted quality to the visuals that really helps it stand out from other indie brawlers and live service games. And yes, you can create your own character, which honestly feels like one of the game's biggest selling points. That extra layer of personalization really helps you feel more connected to your ace, and it makes the whole experience that much more fun to dive into. The music is more atmospheric than memorable, but it gets the job done. What stands out more is the sound design. Punchy attack sounds, responsive feedback when you land a hit or trigger an ability. It all adds to the satisfaction of every fight. And that satisfaction is really the heart of what makes Towerborne work. It's not trying to reinvent the genre, but what it does do is take a bunch of familiar ideas, tight responsive combat, light but meaningful RPG progression, and genuinely fun co-op, and polish them into a package that's immediately engaging and surprisingly hard to put down. The missions are short enough that you can jump in for a quick run after work, but meaty enough that you feel like you've accomplished something. The variety of enemy types and mission objectives keep things from going stale, and the ability to switch up your classes, weapons, and loadouts gives the game more staying power than you might expect. If you're into games like Castle Crashers, Dragon's Crown, or even Hades, and you've been wishing for something new in the co-op action space, then this is definitely worth a look. And if you want to check it out, don't forget, there's a link in the description below. Towerborne is available now, and it's way more fun than it has any right to be.